Another year, another season of BoJack. It's most likely the most successful animated show on Netflix and gained worldwide popularity when it was initially released in 2014. Following on from Season 4, Season 5 takes a look inside BoJack's life and the rest of Hollywood with all of its references to pop culture and its look inside the film and television industry with its comedic style yet powerful messaging. So, Season 5, is it good? Is it worth watching? Let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter @brainpilot_ and tweet me your favorite animated character with a GIF. I'm looking forward to seeing who you choose. So without further ado, I'm Brainpilot and here is BoJack Horseman Season 5, Is It Worth Watching? I'll keep this as spoiler free as possible. The story. One thing that BoJack Horseman is really good with is having multiple stories on the go at once whilst each episode has its own story to tell yet tie into a 12-episode long narrative. It's really good. There are multiple stories in this season that, if I'm being honest, I feel don't necessarily focus on BoJack that much, but they are all extremely interesting. You get the chance to find out a lot about many of the other characters in the show, such as Diane, Mr. Peanut Butter, and Princess Carolyn. You get to take a look at their past and what led them to be where they are today. This is something that I thought was quite nice. We've seen it inside BoJack's head millions of times and it's messed up, especially in the first few seasons. So it was nice to have a not as heavy drink, drugs, sex heavy series. It was more about the characters and the emotion behind them and the reasoning behind all of their intentions. BoJack is constantly trying to be the better person, but in reality all he needs to do is move on. And it's interesting to see how fearful he is of becoming the person that he once was. As well as this, BoJack is starring in a new show on whatsthetime.com or something like that, and that's the overhanging story that you follow throughout it. The writer Flip is hilarious to watch and he is exactly what you imagine a lot of writers to be like when they're stressed on set. The stories take an interesting look at different topics that are extremely relevant and can touch people's hearts quite closely even though it is a comedy. For example, Diane not fitting in, Princess Carolyn not being able to have a child, BoJack and the loss of his mother, Mr. Peanut Butter's divorce, the look inside his new relationship and how to tackle his past, the feminist movement, and drug addiction, to just name a few. It's all extremely real for an animated show and that's great to see. The boundaries are being broken and the lines being crossed. Several episodes take the character's point of view and it's extremely interesting to understand how they're actually feeling. Obviously, at the end of the day, this show is a comedy, and as well as being serious, it has to make you laugh. This most definitely does happen. Many times, some of the one-liners that come out have you chuckling and even laughing about it a few minutes after because you've only just understood it. There are a few weak stories within the season where I found myself slightly bored, but whenever it did that, it picked itself up quite easily. The characters. As I mentioned, I feel as though we got to know a lot more about the characters this season, and that made it a lot stronger as a whole. BoJack seems as though he is a lot more content with his life compared to what he has been, despite the turbulence that he goes through this season and the constant fear of becoming what he doesn't want to. Princess Carolyn is determined to adopt a child, but is still business. Diane is still going against the grain with what she says and what she believes in, yet it always seems to be right. Mr. Peanut Butter is still the nicest guy around, and Todd, well, he's just as lucky as he's always been. The core values of the characters haven't changed, we've just seen a deeper look inside what they're actually like. One character that I did really like in this season when he was on screen was Flip. I thought the way his character looked, sounded and acted was brilliant, and whenever he was on the screen I wanted to see more. One thing that I do love about the show is how all of the characters' voices sound. I don't know whether it's the way that they're mixed or what, but they sound so crisp and in your ear, like you can hear every word perfectly clear, even the sounds that you wouldn't normally pick up. I found that especially with the characters BoJack and Flip. Also, I liked the way how Flip always had a nice lolly. I found it weird, but funny. Different styles. I feel as though with this season, it looks as though they took on the style of the TV show Community a little. And by this, I mean the way in which some episodes were told and how they were visually absorbed. For example, there is an episode called Free Churro, where BoJack is at his mother's funeral and for the whole episode we are just watching him speak as a member of the audience. At first I wasn't sure how that would be and if it would just get tiresome and boring, but it worked extremely well. Although my critique would be that the last 2 seconds of the episode didn't have to be there. I feel as though they added comedy at a moment where it didn't need it, and as well the episode after, where all of the characters were in the episode, but due to the fact that it was being told as a story, they were different animals and had similar names. It was extremely weird, but it definitely worked. Another element of the different styles that I liked were the transitions. The transitions throughout the series within certain episodes were executed perfectly, whether it be a flashback or a flash forward or a change in destination. It was always extremely clear and easy on the eye to watch. I was impressed with it massively. Final thoughts. Overall, I would say that this season of BoJack Horseman is definitely the best season of the show that there has been. You gain a clear understanding on who the characters actually are, how they feel, and why they're there. They're animated characters, yes, but they're dealing with real-life subjects that many people are struggling with in reality, and I can imagine that it's extremely relatable for a lot of people watching. As I mentioned, the storytelling is told perfectly, not just through the story itself, but visually, and it's impressive to see. The age 18 rating for the show definitely goes in its favour, as I feel as if it didn't have it, it would just be another one of those animated shows on the streaming platform. However, it's not. It's up there on its own, and nothing can really compete with it. BoJack Horseman Season 5 is definitely worth watching. What did you think of BoJack Horseman Season 5? Did you enjoy it? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.